I know. I know. I know. I know. I know. I know. For God's sakes, it's been like 2 weeks since I did the last episode review. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Will, and welcome back to another spoiler review here on the channel. As you've seen in the title card, this is episode 4's spoiler review for Avatar: The Last Airbender on Netflix. This is a spoiler review for episode 4. I know the series came out literally like 3 weeks ago, and I'm only on episode 4. I watched the episode probably about a week and a half ago. Being completely transparent and honest with you guys, that is the case. It's just time, man. I wanted to try to do these individually to give each episode time to talk about it, but I also know that this has been out for like 3 weeks, and I actually have not finished watching all the episodes. But this is going to be for episode 4, and I've been back and forth on how I'm going to handle the rest of the season, because I am going to finish it, most likely get this video out, hopefully soon, and then I will do a review for episodes 5 and 6, 7 and 8, and that will wrap up season 1. More than likely as well, in that finale video, I will also give my thoughts on the announcement of seasons 2 and 3 that were announced when episode 3's review dropped. So I think I put it in there on that video. So it's a little admin so you guys kind of know where my headspace is. Yeah, this is a spoiler review for episode 4. More than likely you have seen it already. But if you haven't, just be forewarned, I will be talking about my thoughts on the episode and some things that happened in the episode. And if this happens to be your first time checking out one of my videos, hi, my name is Will, and I do geeky things and irreverent humor on the internet. I do reviews and reactions. I just like to have fun, and I hope you do as well. This is escapism for me, if I'm being completely honest. With all those things being said, if that happens to be something that piques your interest and you'd like to hear from a geeky bear like myself, then please subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. It would really help me out. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers this year. That's the goal. Let's get on and talk about episode 4 that featured our full debut of King Bumi, aka Bumi, aka the second best earthbender ever. That's a controversial statement, but hey, we all know who the best one is. Alright, so episode 4, Zuko escaping, Omashu, Aang, and Iroh being taken into custody by the Omashu police or guard, whatever you want to call them, and Sokka and Katara trying to figure out how to help Aang in his current situation. This episode definitely gave a lot more of a backstory for Iroh. They've played with where things happen within the timeline. I've been completely fine with it, even up to this point in the series I am at. I like getting more of the heavy Iroh stuff in a little bit early. I actually did like that. And you know what? Slight low blow, you using leaves from the vine during the funeral scene. You're bringing back some painful emotions, but I appreciate the use of it. We actually got to see the funeral, and we actually got to see a lovely moment between him and Zuko, where Zuko actually offered to stay with Iroh and also gave Iroh something that his son gave to Zuko as like a way of helping to remember him. It was a really sweet and important scene, at least to give casual fans an understanding of the sort of relationship or the importance that Zuko has to Iroh, why Iroh sees him as, you know, really much as like a son compared to his own father who mutilates his own face. We're starting to see the wears and tears more of that regret for the loss of his son. And for a lot of the stuff they did in the past, that really kind of set him down a different path than most other people in the Fire Nation. I actually do like that we're getting that. I think a lot of that really wasn't heavily talked about until season 2. And that's something else I noticed too with this episode, and from what I've seen from some stills from later episodes, that we're getting more characters and introductions that actually took place in season 2 now. My prevailing theory as to why that was done is basically because the show's on Netflix, and Netflix doesn't have a track record for doing a lot of multiple seasons without just deciding to just drop something. So they probably wanted to get in a few things here and there because they probably didn't know if they were getting a season 2 or 3. But luckily they are getting season 2 and 3. So it'll be interesting to see how they retool some of those moments that they're doing now into season 2 that when they typically sort of showed up. Case in point, the Cave of Two Lovers, which was featured in this episode as well, because that is how Katara and Sokka were able to get into the royal palace to help Aang. Because in the original episode, when they first met Bumi, Katara and Sokka were actually sort of taken captured as well. And Aang had to go through these trials in order to save his friends. That was kind of the driving motivation for the trials that he went up against with Bumi. But in this one, Katara and Sokka actually had the Cave of Two Lovers moment. They got into a scrap with each other, which wasn't really a scrap. Again, I think the runtime and why things are condensed doesn't allow for those moments to kind of breathe, because it was an altercation where some things were said and some feelings were hurt, but they were kind of quickly resolved. And that's just kind of indicative of the shorter runtime and how things are kind of cramped in. I didn't think it was bad. The conflict resolutions are very quick and seamless instead of giving time to breathe and to marinate and to really show a little bit more growth, because you had some time to kind of sit on it and really digest, like, oh, I was kind of a dick for what I said, blah, 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 that sort of thing. It was kind of like, you're not dad, or you're never going to be dad until like 3 minutes later. I'm sorry, the giant badger mole scared the shit out of me, and I need to reconcile with you right now. That's kind of what it felt like a little bit. But I like that we got the minstrel and the dancers and the hippies. That is straight out of what happened in season 2, where they encountered them. I kind of wish we had Aang there for that moment, because we would have gotten the Sokka smacking his forehead for it. But again, changing some things up, we trying to make it fit for what you're telling here. They did revisit the Mechanist thing, and yes, he was kind of working with the Fire Nation, but he did, by the end of the episode, turn him in and do what's right. I still kind of wish that whole character was a different episode, but sure, why not? We're here. This is what we're dealing with. The other big thing, besides the Iroh moments with Zuko, and Zuko having to make an important choice because he infiltrated the castle once he got back into Omashu to try to rescue Iroh. Iroh had already been taken away, but Aang was actually taken up to see Bumi. So Zuko had to make a choice. Does he go after Aang or go after Iroh? He obviously chose to go after Iroh, which I think was a really smart, important thing. It shows that his love and his loyalty to his uncle is a lot stronger than his desire to find the Avatar. We're getting a lot of those introductions in early, like with Azula and the Fire Lord and things like that. Getting the early groundworks of Iroh and Zuko's relationship as uncle and nephew to feel more like father and son, and how important they both are to each other. It's just going to make that betrayal in season 2 hurt even more.
What?
Honey, wow. Are you kidding
Really?
me? You just ruin it every time. I'll see you at home.
But wait a second.
Rude.
Now, how would you not know that was taking place?
I think it's smart to try to get those introductions in to hopefully in later seasons, in 2 or 3, if they're given more episodes to explore these things, time to blend together on camera so that the audience can really absorb why these relationships are so important with each other. And it makes those betrayals, it makes those letdowns, and make those heartbreak moments hurt even more, for the triumphant moments towards the finale be even stronger and cathartic. Early tease of some of my thoughts for seasons 2 and 3. Give us more episodes. Don't just stick with 8 episodes. If you can muster 10, 2 additional episodes would be really nice to give some of these characters a chance to breathe. I don't mind the quick pace, but I also have the history of the series behind me, so I'm cool with the changes. But I think if you really want to hook more people onto it and get the emotional beats that I think a lot of people feel like they might be missing from this first season, I think more episodes would work. I think you can muster a 10-episode season with both. And honestly, just based off the numbers that apparently the show has done, you can probably make an argument to do 10 episodes for season 2 and 10 episodes for season 3. That's just a personal opinion, but I digress. Because Bumi was one of my favorite characters from the animated series, so I was excited to see him in live action, and his interaction with Aang and, you know, the test and them kind of sparring with each other at the end. I was very excited for that. I think the episode did okay with Boomy. They switched up the order of events ever so slightly. I think the biggest change, which I still don't know how I feel about it, and this is me being completely honest. I don't know if I feel cool with them just doing the reveal like that's Boomy right at the beginning. Because I think it worked better when Aang didn't know and he thought he was just dealing with a crotchety old king who was just putting him through a bunch of random tests, and eventually found out these tests were kind of meant to prepare Aang for the difficult journey ahead with his task of trying to bring balance to the world and to stop the Fire Nation and all their tyranny, by realizing this is his old friend Boomy, and Boomy was doing this as a test in order to see if Aang was ready for the hard choices. You still got there with this episode. You had Boomy kind of testing Aang here and there. It really became more of a test towards the end. The one thing I was kind of confused about when he would look like he was going to drop 2 rocks on him and Aang. But again, this is Boomy. Boomy should be able to survive that. So I don't think he did it as a way of trying to off himself, because eventually Katara and Sokka make it there to help and to like get Boomy out of the way. But at the end of the day, this is Boomy we're talking about, one of the greatest earthbenders. I'm pretty sure he's dropped a bunch of boulders on himself hundreds of times before. Just felt a little off when I was watching it, and I'm okay with it. I kind of wish Boomy was a little bit more goofy, but that's how I feel about Iroh. I also feel like Iroh is a little too serious in certain moments, and I feel like you do need that a little bit more levity with those 2 characters, because that's just kind of built into their DNA. And that's most like great characters. They have this level of irreverence to them, or this goofiness to them, that just makes them kind of stand out, because it makes you underestimate that character in the long run. Iroh's confrontation with the Earth Kingdom guard who was threatening to kill him, I would have loved Iroh to have been a little bit more diffusing of the situation. He kind of did, but they kind of did it in more like, you don't want to mess with me because you know what I can do, sort of thing. And I kind of wish it was more subtler than that. I like the show greatly from a visual standpoint. I still think visually everything looks really good, especially for a TV budget, because this is a TV budget at the end of the day. I still think that there are some character details that could be smoothed out a little bit. Like the kids, I don't think it's an issue. Like the kids are actually fine. The Badger Mole scene was actually pretty fun, albeit slightly terrifying, but it's more of an emotional sensing creature, which I don't remember if that's how it was, but it makes sense because one of the main senses is gone because a Badger Mole is blind. That scene worked well, and again, the kids' characters, I still feel like they're doing a fantastic job. I wish there was a little bit more humor, but that's just my personality. That's just like my taste. And again, it's probably not an issue for a lot of people, and that's totally fine. And I know it is an issue for some people. That's the thing about media, is that people consume it differently. And I think all opinions when it comes to that sort of thing are valid when they're constructed. If you're not just trying to be mean for mean's sake. Once they get everything squared away with Boomy, they decide that they need to continue to the North Pole so Aang can continue his waterbending training. And they allude to the fact that Fire Nation is heading to Omashu, which is what happens to Omashu in season 2 when it actually gets taken over by the Fire Nation and Boomy gets captured. And that's actually what leads us to Toph, because Aang was going to go back to Omashu in order to start earthbending training with Boomy, but Boomy is unavailable. So I'm getting the sense that we will still see that moment in season 2 that will probably lead us to Toph, since we know we're getting season 2 and we know we're getting Toph. Aang and Boomy are riding the delivery system and they crash into the cabbage cart merchant and he says, "My cabbages," and that's your stinger for the end of the episode. But that's episode 4. I know it took us a long time to get to this review for episode 4.
525,600 minutes.
I think the episode was good. It was probably one of the more interesting episodes. I definitely think it was better than episode 3 personally. I think it handled the multiple different elements that they incorporated into it a lot better than episode 3 did. I liked the design of the Badger Mole and the Cave of Two Lovers. The fact that they featured that so early. Sure, because it wasn't a major thing in the animated series. It was important because it gave the characters time alone with each other in order to kind of work out their issues. So them incorporating into this episode as a way to give Katara and Sokka something to do, that's fine. It didn't really sideline them in the episode like it did in the animated series, where they were just basically captured. I do wish Boomy and Iroh had a little bit more levity to them, similar to their animated counterparts. There is a sense of levity there. I'm not saying that they're not at all funny or not at all kind of kooky and crazy like their animated counterparts, but there is something that I feel like is still a little subdued, and I kind of wish it was brought more to the surface a little bit more. I really do like the inserting of the emotional Iroh scene with Zuko, the flashback. I really did like that scene. Cheap play of using Leaves from the Vine. It was just the melody, because I know that was one of the final things that Mako, the original voice actor for Iroh, did before he passed away. So even Greg Baldwin, the second voice of Iroh, who is currently the one who's portrayed Iroh going forward, I think he's even said in interviews like he refuses to perform that song because that was Mako's song. I'm curious to see how I feel by the end of the season. The changes are a lot, but for the story that they are telling, I think everything works well. I think it's for the time constraints and what you're trying to accomplish, but you're still trying to squeeze in a lot of those important moments or those fan favorite moments with fan favorite characters. I think you're working as well as you can with the situation. Would I have given them more episodes for each season? Absolutely. I would have given them at least 10 episodes, because I think those extra 2 episodes, you can devote an episode where you did visit another air temple and ran into the Mechanist and had that sort of moment. You could have done an episode where maybe they kind of goof off here or there, so you get a little bit more character time, or even time with Aang and Katara like practicing waterbending together, something like that. I would have really appreciated it. And who knows, there's still 4 episodes I have not seen yet. I know we're getting like the Blue Spirit in one of the episodes. We're getting June, who is the hunter. We're getting one of those. I don't know if and I believe we're getting like the upset spirit. I know there's an Avatar Roku. I know there's going to be an Avatar Korok introduction as well. So those sort of changes where you're including characters that are underutilized from the original series, I think that's really dope. I think the fact that we're actually going to meet Korok, and we met Kyoshi early on, and we're going to get our meeting with Roku, I think those are really cool and really interesting additions to the live action version. I'm looking forward to those moments. I appreciate you if you have been checking out these review videos, even though people have already binged it and probably already dissected it. So the fact that you're even checking out these videos, I really do appreciate it. And I will try to get the remaining 2 out as quickly as possible. So thank you for being understanding and patient and being someone who checks out my videos. So I really do appreciate that. So that is going to do it for my episode 4 spoiler review for Avatar: The Last Airbender. Let me know any thoughts that you have on episode 4 in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out this and all my videos. I really do appreciate it. Again, if you happen to have been new here and you happen to enjoy this video, hopefully you will like it and hopefully you will subscribe to the channel. Again, I try to post as quickly as I can. I will definitely be getting the remaining 2 reviews for the last 4 episodes. I will try to get those out as quickly as possible, but thank you for sticking around. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my thoughts about it. I have a ton of other videos on this channel that you're more than welcome to check out. Got 2 new trailer reactions that just dropped. I have my review for Dune Part 2 that is on the channel. I'm going to try to get everything out as quickly as I can, so please be subscribed to stay notified when all those things drop. You can follow me on a lot of different social media platforms listed at the end of this video. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And as always, until next time, I will catch you later. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you did like this video, why not give me a thumbs up and share it with your friends? You can subscribe to the channel by clicking on my gorgeous little face right over there. You can follow me on all the various social media platforms right below. And last but certainly not least, if you've got a few extra minutes, why not check out one of the lovely videos floating right over here. Later.